Hello, future teachers. This is a quick review of the article. These are some of the things you were asked to read for chapters or modules or weeks 7 and 8. This one was the one by Reading Rockets, Reading Aloud to Build Comprehension. And some key points that may help with your talking points or just good things from the article was basically they were saying that if you want a student to learn how to make connections and to think and act like a good reader, then explicitly show how to do that. So the big premise you should remember if you're going to have a big point number one, read alouds. Read alouds are powerful. Why? Because read alouds praise the power of thinking aloud. Read aloud show that a book is a cooperative venture. It's not just you reading the book, but it's getting into the story and it's making connections and it's understanding. So when we talk about connections, think about when you read something, the connections you make. Either you can connect it with your own experience, you can connect it with something else you've read, or just in general connect it to something that is going on in the world or some universal concept. So in Little People Land, we call that text to self, text to text, or text to world. Some benefits of reading aloud that are huge that you can put down. It's the single most important activity for reading success. It is the foundation for literacy development. Thinking about the first ways children encounter text, usually even babies, people are reading to them, they're hearing it and they're seeing the expression and they're realizing there's something that those their parents are holding, and even if they don't quite understand the words or the letters, they know that whatever's in that book besides the pictures, their parents are faithfully saying the same words every time, and they can look forward to saying, that's my favorite story, please read the book, because they know what to expect. There's a faithfulness in the book. There's a consistency, and don't we all crave that for people just to be faithful and consistent and to have experiences that we enjoy that don't change, right? Some other things about the benefits of a read aloud is it invites the readers into a conversation with the author. How cool is that? Children can listen to a higher language level than they can read. I'm going to say that one again because that one's deep. Children can listen on a higher level language than they can read. And we know that's true because all of you know some little person that is way too mature for their age, and we say, yep, she's 3 going on 30, because she'll hear a grown conversation or he, and they can jump right in and make total sense. And it's because they can comprehend or listen. I'll take that back. It says listen. I apologize, not comprehend. Listen on a higher language level than they can read. And plus, students of any age benefit from hearing a wonderful reading of a wonderful book. I remember our college, my pre-service teacher, when I was a pre-service teacher, she read Bud Not Buddy, and she read it in such a way I was like, oh my gosh, when I hit a classroom, I want to be able to read books that good, that are worth reading, but I want to be able to read like that. And as we almost wrap up, children need to see themselves in these books. And so when you're picking your books, I had a student say, I'm just picking a book because they need to do a strategy. I'm like, okay, that is one way to think of it. But, if you have to read something and you can read something magnificent or something mediocre, like, and it doesn't take any more time, be magnificent. So pick a book that reflects your students. They should see themselves. We call them windows, mirrors, and sliding doors. A mirror is when the child sees himself in the book. So girls see girls. Children of different races or ethnicities, they get to see their races or ethnicities. Children with disabilities get to open a book and wow, there's a boy who loves to read who may have a reading disability, and there's a story about him. And it's just like, wow, I see myself in that book. And those are mirrors, whereas windows is children get an opportunity to see other people's cultures or lives, and maybe they learn about holidays they didn't know about or different family traditions, but they're not just in their own bubble. They get to see the beauty of other people's worlds, so they have that compare and contrast, and they're kind of being able to say, wow, things can be different. It doesn't mean they're bad, it just means they're different. And then there's something we call sliding doors, which is they're looking out maybe at another person's culture, but instead of it just being a window that you see through, a sliding door means it's that glass that once you've looked and you're curious, you actually get to get those experiences and go deeper. And those deeper dives can be actually having conversations about those topics with people who know more about them, or engaging in dialogue with people who may not look like you or sound like you, or ideas you've never experienced and things you get to experience. I love sliding doors when it comes to science and social studies because they can read about something in science and social studies, but then to go and watch, the butterflies, have their own experiment, or to watch something germinate or grow, or to pour the water over the rocks and talk about erosion or something like that. They get to actually experience it, or grow a baby chick. We had a first grade teacher in her classroom, and they grew baby chicks. And she swore that the quietest time of the year was when she would let the little baby chicks walk around the classroom, and she told everybody they had to be very still so none of the chicks got hurt. So it was the most disciplined time. It was her favorite 2-week unit of science to teach for first grade. So as you're doing that, here are 2 simple questions you can ask yourself when you're picking a book. Is this a good story? And is it worth sharing with my students? If you go through the article, it gives you a lot of good questions. So, for example, is this a story children would want to hear again? Does the book inspire children to find or listen to another book on the same topic? Is this book relevant to their lives or cultures? Will the kids even just, like I said, will they enjoy this book? Will it bring something to them where they're like, oh, we had this book today in class and I learned this? And, you can have this books that have the same topic, but pick the one that's exciting or something that would draw the kids in. So as you think about a read aloud, almost think of it as it's a joint. It's not just a read aloud, it's a think aloud. Because what you're doing is you're making the invisible act of reading visible. So as you're thinking through reading and you say that out loud and you show what you're thinking, the students realize, oh, okay, the person who's reading, they're relating this text to other things. And we talked about those connections. And it reveals that kind of inner conversation that goes on as you read. And that's why reading is exciting from some people, because they're making these connections and asking questions, and they're visualizing what's happening in the text. And they're identifying what the changes the characters are going through, and it becomes exciting, and they're expecting something good to happen, but they're making predictions. And yes, those are comprehension strategies. We talked about that. But at the same time, they're ways to just really enjoy the richness of a book. And little people at our level can totally do that. So the article is going to end talking about different collections. And honestly, the biggest thing to remember with that is when you're picking an anchor text, or you have a concept and you're trying to, and we talked about making a text set. The beautiful thing about that is like getting really good quality literature. So just in case you get in the student teaching, or you start teaching your first year, and like you realize you're reading stories that your students are just like, oh my gosh, we read this story before. Or it's like, you notice you have a classroom full of boys and you keep reading Junie B. Jones, and it's like, can you find a book with a male character? Can you, a book that represents anything? Half the class likes to skate or ski or play soccer. Could you grab a book that might fit a little bit more, that just excites them, if you're going to pick a book anyway? And then not just a book about a topic or a subject, but think about those books that are going to help them to navigate society and the world around them. Because part of the article talks about good books help children understand the social fabric that makes up our world. Think about it. There's some concepts that we learn in literature, and you're like, oh my goodness, you have great compassion when you see what happens to the character, or you see the importance of, respecting people. And so some big topics that you may want to look for are family traditions, friendship. There's huge topics, especially when you go into social studies and things that you can, science too, that you can find beautiful literature wrapped around. All right, so once again, thank you for your pre-service. Thank you for all you do. You got this, y'all. Hold it together. You've come so far. Think about when school started in September, and we are already like leaning into March, okay? April. Yeah, and then we finish in April. And you get a spring break. So y'all are so close to the goal. Like, stay the course, and one day this will be a memory. So just find something to enjoy every day. And I hope you enjoy the readings, and take a deep breath. It's going to be fine. And you have what it takes to make amazing people and to make amazing differences for even the students you see in the field, if it's nothing but a smile and a gracious moment for them. All right. Thank you for all you do, and talk to you later.